July 6, 1976. Dearest Kathy, I finally managed to get a hold of some paper and plop my body down and get a pen in hand, so here I am. So very sorry, terribly sorry. I missed in person the grandest day of your life. But you know, it must not have been meant for me to be there. I ran into so much difficulty. However, I thought of you all day, and at that time of your wedding, God was spiritually inspiring another through me. So that made me feel even closer to you. You know I love you, and I don't think you could have chosen a better man to share your life with. I am so happy for you, and Jim, of course, too. His choice was the best also. Health-wise, I think my blood needs some iron. I get terribly tired easily and can hardly get up in the mornings. I'm going to make a doctor's appointment as soon as I can, as I really don't know how much of what to take. Otherwise, health-wise, I seem to be fine. I've gained so much weight, you wouldn't believe it. Remember all those new pants I bought not too long ago? I can't even get into them. There are a couple of my old baggy pair of pants I can wear for a short while, but I have to lay down on my back to get them buttoned. Sarah gave me some, otherwise I'd be wearing my skin. My tummy is bulging, a little bit, but not real bad. I can feel the baby flutter now for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Stout little Capricorn. By the way, I did tell you the baby would be a Capricorn. Ironical, isn't it? Ha! Sometimes I get the feeling there's a conspiracy going on. Emotionally, I'm fine now, but for about a month there, I didn't think I'd even make it. By the time Thurman came back to work from school, I was near frantic and expressed the same on the phone when I told him we had a problem. You guessed it, he walked in the door mad before he even knew for sure. Keep in mind, Kathy, this is all funny to me now, and it doesn't hurt a bit. Try to see the humor in this because, believe me, there's plenty of it. Don't let yourself feel bad or hurt for me because I'm on top of it now, okay? The minute he sat down, I jumped in his lap and tried to humor him, of course. There was no way. I had run a million different things through my mind in the weeks before trying to prepare myself for whatever his reaction would be. Guess I covered them all, except for him walking through the door already mad. Immediately, fear gripped me. Mind you, I still hadn't told him what the problem was. And I left his lap and informed him I was too scared to tell him. This made him madder. I finally decided he'd kill me for sure if I didn't tell him. And the only defense I had was if and when I told him he'd go into shock. Yeah, he did. He was really upset. He wasn't against an abortion, against me giving the baby away, against me raising the baby alone. He couldn't stand the thought of him not raising his baby. That night wasn't too bad. I had realized before he'd been upset, as I was fairly flexible. But a few nights later, we really had a bout. He threw his hands up. I really thought that night I'd had it. He swung me around the kitchen several times. Of course, I was strictly unreasonable with him that night, and he was furious with me. He finally decided he wanted me to get an abortion. This was the only way. I made an appointment, but when I did, then I got so mad at him, I don't think anything would have stopped me. I called him and told him I wanted to see him. He refused. I told him if he was too afraid to come to me at my house, I was not afraid to come up there to the station. Naturally, he came, and he was very sweet. Oh, it went on like this for several weeks. He finally gave me an ultimatum. I didn't know what to do. I was afraid I'd lose my job, afraid for the trouble he'd go through, not to mention his family, if it got to the wrong person. I finally decided it was my feelings against the whole bunch of other people's feelings and decided I could handle my own feelings better than all those others could theirs. So I set a third appointment, took off work, had the money, and Carol took me to Arkadelphia to have an abortion. I got to the door, and all of a sudden, nothing in this world mattered but how I felt and what I thought. I never even went inside. That was something that I had never believed in. I felt like I was taking an innocent life, and come what may, I couldn't do it. I came back to Hot Springs prepared to lose my job, friends, and even Thurman. But I was going to have my baby. I called him and knew he had thought I'd went, as he had told me. He had checked on me every day at work to see if I was okay. So poor Daddy had another shock. He was very mad, scared, and upset, and I knew the things he said came from these negative feelings, so I didn't even get upset. This was 1 week ago, and you wouldn't believe all the things I've gotten from God about Thurman, and about me, and about the two of us. I felt good mentally, and know so much more about this man I love than I ever have. I know what I'm up against now. Fear. Kathy, he is so locked up into fear, it's unreal. Fear dominates his life. All these years, I've thought I was fighting him when all I've been fighting is his fears. Fears of losing material things, what Judy would do, losing his kids, his job, what people would think and say. Fear of living that comfortable whole life after there was a stepping out into life and living an experience which involves pain sometimes, which is another thing he's afraid of. Fear of loving. Fear of what? Because loving me would be so easy for him if he'd let himself just love me. Fear of his baby touching his heart. Can you believe all these fears? And they are all very heavy for him. But I have enough love in my heart, and now that I understand why he does and says some of the things he does and says, I won't take them personal, and it doesn't hurt anymore. With God's help, I'll stay on top of his fears, and maybe even someday my love will free him. Like the song says, he ain't heavy, he's my brother. So much good has already come to me from this baby. I no longer fear Thurman. I say what I feel to him, and he says what he feels to me. We have expressed our feelings to each through this like never before. I don't care what anyone thinks of me anymore. More than ever, I myself have lost a lot of fear. I trust more. I understand more. If this baby's a girl, I'm going to name her Capri Laura. Capri for the first letters of Capricorn, and Laura, Thurman's middle name, is Lawrence. Haven't got a boy's name yet. I think she's a girl anyway. So much has happened since I talked to you. It seems like centuries. I lost my house about the same time all this other, which has made me very strong. All these things at once, that is. I don't feel bad about the house. I had 2 beautiful years there. Enjoyed it very much. It was never really mine anyway. I feel relieved not to have to worry about it anymore. I stored all my furniture and have been staying with Sarah for a long time. She's helping me organize my financial world and teaching me how to pay bills. I'm doing pretty good too. I can see a dent in them. I went to the judge and I explained my problems, other than the baby. He advised me to put the kids in the foster home for a while until I could get on my feet again. I did so for the last 2 weeks. I've been away from them. They're enjoying themselves. I told them they were going on vacation and they didn't have to go to school, and that made them really happy. You'll do just fine as a mother. It'll take some adjusting and a little trial and error, but you'll be a wonderful mother, Kathy, because you care. That's all you need. I'm glad you're so happy being home taking care of your family. The only thing is I wish your home was Hot Springs way. I miss you terribly. I almost called you the other night, but never could come up with the number from the operator. Do you have a phone? Well, write soon. Give Jim my love. I love you, Linda. I love you, Linda.
Woman by the name of Linda Edwards. 24 years ago tonight, police believe she was murdered somewhere in the Hot Springs area. Her killer has never been found, but after all these years, state police are taking a second look at the case and hope that with your help, it can be solved. It was hot and dry August 22nd, 1976 in Hot Springs. Governor David Pryor had made a few stops to stump for re-election. But the economy was sagging. Bathhouses were closing. There were few tourists. And a Hot Springs family was spending their last day together.
August 22nd comes around every year. It's the hardest month of the year.
Toby Edwards, only 6 at the time, remembers that day vividly. His sister Kim was 5. They'd fallen asleep that night watching TV when their mother Linda woke them up and said she had to go out for a few minutes.
And I told my mom, I said, I don't want you to go. I want you to stay right here. She never showed back up.
Linda Edwards, a Garland County Sheriff's deputy, a divorced mother of 2 and 5 months pregnant, didn't show up that night or ever again. Her car was found the next morning, abandoned. There was no sign of Edwards for 6 months until hunters walking through the woods of the south side of Jack Mountain in Hot Spring County found the skeletal remains of Linda Edwards. Her skull had been crushed. The case went from missing person to murder investigation. Toby's father broke the news.
He told us, she wasn't coming back, and Kim wanted to go off and die just like her so she could go to heaven and be with Mama, and I was afraid that my dad something would happen to him.
Their father moved the family to California. They were raised in a loving family, but Toby and Kim never stopped thinking about who killed their mother and why. They've moved back to Arkansas, and they both visit their mother's grave and the spot on Jack Mountain where their mother was found.
I'm the exact same age as she was that very year, right now. And all this whole week, that's all I've been thinking about was it was her last week of her life, and she didn't even know it. And I just, if she ever had a chance.
It's not right what this person did to her. And it could happen again. And it may have already happened. You never know.
Both are convinced that today there are people in Garland County who know what happened. They're hoping at least one person can come forward. So after all these years, their families and the soul of their mother can have peace.
Now, I've never really put her to rest because I don't know, because we've just never been no closer to it. We just never, I mean, it's like she's still missing, because it's never been closed.
I had a dream as a little boy that on the way home from work, I'd stop and visit Mama just to see how she was doing. And somebody took that dream away.
Murder charges were filed against a colleague of Edwards at the Garland County Sheriff's Department, but charges were eventually dropped. Now, if you have any information on the murder of Linda Edwards 24 years ago tonight, call the Arkansas State Police at 618-8000 or call your local police department. You won't have to give your name. There is a lot more to this case, and we'll be following up in the days and weeks to come.